Welcome to the KIKI Corner. Today we're going to talk about the meme storytelling playbook, and I'm going to take some time to introduce everyone here with us. And then my friend David Packman, who leads CoinFund, one of the top, if not the number one venture capital organization in our industry. He recently interviewed Luca and four or three other founders of Web3 IP. So we're going to show a little 45-second clip that you'll be able to hear on X Spaces, or if you're watching the video that we're streaming, you'll be able to see that for a moment. And we'll talk about the importance of telling the story. The importance of telling the story around the meme, the tokenized community that we are part of, or for many of us, we're part of many of these different tokenized communities. But let me first say hello to our friends that are here with us. Xiao, thank you for being here. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. Super excited. I just went back to the doctor before coming on. Things are looking good. They even did an EKG, which was kind of surprising because I was like, I guess I'm getting older now that I got to do these things. And I got my first outsourcing for a colonoscopy. And I'm like, I feel like I'm automatically telling my age based on the fact that I got recommended this opportunity. And I'm like,
that's an opportunity. Right? I like it. That's one way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, it's
don't they have a pill? Can't you swallow the cameras now? That seems like a much less invasive way of doing the same work.
Right. My joke is like, they usually just put you under anesthetics, and so you're under, and you're like, at least I'm not aware of it, right? Versus the other traditional method of checking your prostate. I'm just like, whoa, hey. Anyways, we're obviously talking way too TMI.
No, this is storytelling. This is on topic. Next thing you know, someone's gonna launch a meme. $ Xiao's ass.
Gotta love the culture. Gotta love the culture. No, you're 100% right. And to the point, I think the reason why we say this, obviously, you're rounding your fast, and for me, why I'm sharing is because I feel like health is such an underrated topic in Web3, and that if you don't talk about it, help promote touching grass, being healthy, getting out and exercising, a lot of people they have a decline. It's a natural thing. If you're just only on the computer and you're just stationary, it's not the way to live. There's so much life to live and embrace, and so much culture to be had. Right, I'm going to be heading out to Dubai, so I'm super excited for that. And so man, I can't wait to talk about more of these things, get into it with the houses and the people on the panel, and you hear a little bit more about what's going on with you because again you're rounding the end. It's only 60 hours left. Yes, and we're so proud of you, and we're so positively influenced, and you have such a wonderful journey and story of your own. So happy to be here, my friend.
I'll share. I heard from a pro basketball player that's a really close friend of mine yesterday. I'll share what he shared with me because it was really meaningful, and then I'll share a couple things that I've learned as I come to the final stretch. I can see the finish line, my friends. I can see the finish line. I see Todor is on the X Space. Today is Todor's birthday. So Todor, we celebrate you. We're so glad you're alive. And we celebrate you every day, not just today because it's your birthday. I know usually you're up here as a co-host with me, but I told you should take the day to yourself, but you wanted to jump in and at least say hi to everybody. So why don't you unmute yourself, and we'd love to hear your voice, my friend.
Hola, hola, hola. You guys hear me?
We do. We hear you loud and clear.
That's good. That's good. Well, another round is done. Another year is done for me. It's been 45 summers since I've been around, which, feels like a lot, but Jesus Christ, the Web3 timing, that is crazy, man. Like the 4 months that we've been working on Kiki felt like, I don't know, like 10 years to me or something like that. And just listening to Xiao now telling you all that y'all need to pay attention to your health. I feel like I think I look like the guy from the pain coin now. Like I think I look like Harold by this point. Because like 4 months in Web3 got me looking like a granddad. I'm like my sideburns went white, my beard is getting white. It's fucking crazy, but it's fun. It's fun. And before I go, I want to say thank you for all the birthday wishes and everybody. I've had about like 700 phone calls today and another probably 10,000 messages, for which I'm super grateful that people are thinking of me. But I wanted to take this time while I got everybody on here listening to tell you that I've been working on something really exciting, and I can't wait to share it. First of all, I'll be sharing it tomorrow with our leadership. This includes you, Ian, and Kiki no Kokoro, and I want to share the vision of what the overlap of an IP token or the IP and Web3, because I've been in a state where I can only compare myself to Neo from the Matrix whenever he actually managed to actually realize what's going on and read the Matrix. So I'm really excited to share everything with you guys and hope that that we'll be aligned in on the future of Kiki, because it's super bright and I love it. So thank you very much. Keep on doing what you're doing, and I'll be with you on next Wednesday to share more.
Good. Okay, we'll connect tomorrow to go over the strategy. We celebrate you. We're thankful for you. Go and enjoy the rest of your day, my friend. All right, Mr. Cool. Love for you to jump in and say hello. I think you had a lot to add to this topic of meme storytelling. How are you?
I'm doing great. I for some reason it gets me every time you call me Mr. Cool. It's it just cracks me up for some reason. Should never have certain stories you just don't tell, and then you just hear about them forever. But I love it. I'm very happy to be here. The one thing I was just thinking about when we were talking about Xiao, and you're like releasing a coin, just putting a dollar sign in front of it. That's the funny thing, is that's literally how it all starts. It's really is like we laugh, but it's literally how it starts. And it's so funny that something like that can be born into, such like a cultural, relevant, like just something that's has nothing to do. You didn't know about it the day you woke up. You care zero about it. And then all of a sudden, boom, you're dropping several $1,000s on something because it's just something that's been created by the culture. And I think that's the stuff that's really cool. And that's why we're here with Kiki, because Kiki is a cultural icon of the cat. So very happy to be here, Ian. Well, I was just thinking, we were talking before this, you're a mastermind and you're a madman with this fast, and I envy you, and I also laugh at you, but also it's so damn impressive, man. I don't know to be worried about you or to be inspired by you, but I love it, man. It's incredible. So hats off to you and happy birthday, Todor. Just wanted to say that.
Yeah. No need to worry about me. I'm doing this as safely as possible. I got 60 hours and 47 minutes left. I got my ticker at this point because that finish line is looking glorious. I feel like I'm the last couple miles of an Ironman, right? I did my 2-mile swim. I did my 112-mile bike ride. I'm about 24 miles into my 26 miles. I can see the last 2 miles of that run. My body says no, but my spirit says yes.
I imagine the timer ticking down, and then just like that nuclear meltdown sound, just like the place just like goes off. You're like, yes, balloons, fireworks, fire.
It'll be here soon enough. And you know, the whole point is to enjoy the experience. And there's a lot that I've experienced the last few days, which have been more challenging, that I wouldn't trade for anything. You know, that was it's a purposeful choice to go through this process of challenge and suffering. So I'll talk a bit about that because I think it has a lot to do with this conversation of storytelling. James, I'm going to come to you last so that we can talk a little bit. You and Kokoro have shared some compelling X posts, and for those in our community that haven't yet seen that, I would suggest that you take a peek. So PK, let me come to you. How is our army doing? How is your house doing? I hope that you're well. You finally got your X account back. It took weeks for them to release it to you because you were doing such a good job with being a warrior. But please jump in and say hello to everybody for us.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. I miss this suspended account. It feels so good to be back. And yeah, I'm doing good. The house is doing good. We are struggling on recruitments, but we are doubling the effort to recruit more. And yeah, we are here to listen to what you're about to say.
Well, we're happy to have you here. You know, one of the reasons why it's important, PK, Raman, and Carl, for the three of you to be here. I know how late it is for each of you. I'm aware it's 11:15 p.m. Same for James. It's a big sacrifice for you guys. But the reason why I want you here is we all want to hear from you. Your decentralized leadership over your house is vital to not our storytelling, but to our structure and our ability to move forward and be able to, you know, trust lots of people with leadership. But also we want to hear your questions. You know, you may have questions about the strategy that Todor and Kokoro and I are nailing down. To be honest, a lot of the strategy came from a conversation that started a few days ago when Nettie posted in the house Telegram chat. Nettie posted a couple really long posts, and that kind of sparked our realization. Moon, Kiki No Moon posted something a couple days ago with 7 or 8 things that they were wondering about. You know, like, hey, I'm all in. I love Kiki, but like, here's some things that are coming across my mind. And so we realized that we needed to go through the process of really nailing down what is our agreed upon strategy. What are we choosing to do with our time right now? What are we choosing not to do? Because the things we say no to might be more important than the things we say yes to. And what's the timeline? What can people, you know, try to count on us for? So we don't want to do this in a silo. And so PK, Raman, Carl, the reason why it's important for you to be here is not just so the community hears from you, but also so that you can ask questions, you can give input, and we can take those things into account. Raman, how is the House of Missionaries? We'd love to hear from you.
Hello, Ian.
Hello.
The House of Missionaries is doing good. We are having a bit of a challenge in recruiting members, but we are doing fine. I invite everyone listening here to join one of the four houses. Thank you.
Well, it sounds like we're having a little lull in recruitment for the House of Army, the House of Missionaries. And, I don't think it's going to be very challenging for us to overcome that. So let's all think creatively about what we can do to encourage new people to engage, or for people that were maybe somewhat engaged, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. How do we get them to re-engage? And there's rhythms to that. And so let's try to find that rhythm to where the next time we hear from you guys, you say, we're overwhelmed. I can't keep up with all the applications. That obviously is what would be nice for your houses. And so let's make that a goal. Carl, how's the Creative House going, my friend?
It's doing good. There are some members sharing ideas with how they basically make like merchandise for Kiki, stuffed toys, something like that. As of this moment, as the lead and with my creative head as well, we're focusing on the website because I want to basically have a prototype to show the community so that they can have something as I said before, to play around on. And if you check the comments right now, I commented a sample. It's precise details. I am really really working hard to give the best possible output for the community to use, and to put Kiki out there that we're very very creative. So I hope that anyone here who wants to participate on what I'm creating, you are very very free to join me as we shape and show off how creative we can be.
Excellent. James, I got to see, obviously you and Kokoro and Todor and I have lots of private conversations. I saw that you and Kokoro brought your private conversations public. Why don't you just touch base on that for a moment and maybe give a summary of what the two of you guys have been speaking about publicly on X. And then I'm going to have our producer go ahead and show a 45-second video of my friend David interviewing 4 of the most well-known Web3 IP creators. And then we'll transition our conversation into, how do you tell stories well? What is a culture coin, et cetera. But James, why don't you go ahead and say hello to everybody and give us a little insight in terms of what you and Kokoro have been discussing.
Jim, everybody, it's been a while, and I think we are so back. The market has been, recovering well, and I hope you guys also watch the latest video that I posted in YouTube. Seems like all the prophecies that that we have been researching for the past like 7 to 10 days has been like pretty much accurate. So yeah, I was actually surprised when Kokoro created that tweet because even Kokoro didn't like message me that there was a tweet that he's like like did this, and I just discovered like like today, 10 hours after he created it, because I didn't really expected it, and I was surprised like, oh okay, he write a long message, he want me to reply publicly, and so I did. And when I was replying publicly, I felt like this is actually a fresh thing to do because like being a CMO, Ian being a CEO, and Kokoro, and Todor, honestly, like there's a lot of things. I think maybe 80% of the things that we do, people really cannot see. And for some reasons, it's kind of unpredictable. There are times that we need to fix something before we deliver it to the people to avoid confusion, and etc. and etc. It's very similar to how we put up a business. But at the end of the day, I also realized that Web3 is about decentralization. It's all about like making people aware of really what's happening for a reason of transparency, or maybe for them to also learn what it's like to be building or like be in a chief position in a certain project like Kiki. So yeah, I opened my inputs about the conversations I had with Kokor as well. Pretty much everything that I mentioned there is the conversation that I and Kokor has been talking about. So he asked me what is my short, mid, and long term goal for Kiki. How would I be able to help Kiki, and why is it important to me? So I indicated there that I think for Kiki, in order for me to be really helpful in Kiki, I need to grow my influence more. I also understand that a lot of people that is in Kiki right now has been here primarily because of the influence they had with me, because they discovered Kiki through my post, and I feel responsible to it, and I feel like I need to excel this further, like make this thing go bigger, and that is where I think like onboarding people from Web 2 to Web 3 comes in, collaborating with different reputable projects as well, partnering with OKX, maybe a step ahead so that we can get listed in the future. Ian knows me. I'm a very good networker, and I'm a very, very friendly guy. And I'm going to Dubai next week. I'm gonna meet like probably the CMO of OKX as well, and maybe we can have a chat about Kiki, and things might like develop further. So yeah, at the end of the day, everything in me is still Kiki. Kiki is in my DNA. Some people might perceive that I'm being like in a different realms. Some people can think it's a negative thing, but for me it's a positive thing, because I will be able to mix a lot of like recipes and ingredients for us to grow even further. So yeah, like I'm also very happy about the sentiment of people about like the whole thing that I wrote. uh it's pretty much happy, and it just gives me more reason to be more transparent in the future. So who knows, maybe like our conversation, Ian, will be also in X soon. So yeah, it's good to be in space again, and yeah, back to you, Ian.
All right. Well, let's have the producer roll this 45-second video. If you're not watching the video and you're just listening, you'll be able to hear. And just the context is, this is the leader of Coin Fund, who I mentioned is maybe the top investor into our industry. He's with Luca from Pudgy and three other of the leaders of three other similar Web3 IP brands. And they have a quick kind of promo video about a conversation they'll be releasing soon. And I just think there's some great takeaways here. So let's listen for 45 seconds, then we'll discuss it along the lines of our topic, meme storytelling playbook. Go ahead.
How do you permeate and proliferate the IP? The product can be both digital and physical, and ultimately it's just about getting it out there into the hands of everyday people.
We're at such an interesting point with like the intersection of art and technology and AI, and the ability to kind of speed run and integrate that for native IPs.
So we've been using Culture Coin.
Culture Coin,
it's kind of
yeah.
like the next evolution of meme coin. Only a few meme coins make it to really impactful culture coin.
You've got like all these artists that had like an allergic reaction to when they hear like crypto or Web3 or NFTs or stuff like that. And now it's kind of the opposite.
We're going to talk about why you guys are so successful and what other people should think about as IP shifts from traditional means of distribution and ownership to something more democratic and more interesting.
So the reason I share that video is because obviously most people are familiar with Luca, who leads Pudgy Penguins. Most people in our space are familiar with Doodles and Azuki, and even many with, I think it's Cleanosaurus. These four leaders and their teams, they launched IP fresh inside of a Web3 project, a NFT project. Then they've taken that IP and they've expanded the impact through digital assets. And, they're looking to not just create a meme coin that pops and fizzles, but something that can be a culture coin, certainly over time. And so I think there's a lot to learn about the stories that these projects have told. And it's not about Luca telling the story. It's actually about the Pudgy Penguin community telling the story, right? One man cannot tell the story. It's not up to me or James or Todor. It's not up to PK and the House of Army. It's not up to Raman, the House of Missionary, or Carl, the House of Arts and Creativity, or Nettie and the House of, the analytics and, group. It's not up to one person or one little micro group to tell the story of a culture coin or an IP token or something that's really can scale and sustain, it takes everyone. This is why we decentralize on purpose. So, Xiao, let me jump to you. I think you are familiar with all four of these groups. I think you've probably held all four NFTs at some point, if not still holding some of them, and are maybe even active in one or more of them. So, what's your impression when you see Pac-Man sitting down with the four of them, and the four of them being together? I think for the first time. I don't think the four of them ever sat down and had a conversation together. And clearly you can see there's some camaraderie instead of just a competitive environment. At that table, there's a collaborative environment. So, what's your takeaway when you hear and see that brief 45 seconds?
Yeah, I've actually seen a couple of them together, but not all four, right? I think
Right.
it's because, they're in different ecosystems. One's in Sol and the other on Ethereum. But, it's good to see it because what it does show is that this is not purely PvP. I think when you talk about culture coins, when you talk about, brand identity, it has to be collaborative. It has to be inclusive. This is something that, you see within KIKI, but you also see within these other brands. And I think that's super important. You shouldn't feel the need to be a gang, right? And only have exclusivity to one. It's most important to actually understand the reach and why they are doing what they do, because they're all doing different things in a similar fashion, right? Which is community outreach, which is doing IRL events, doing activations, having merchandise, retail in a way that people can help, buy into and consume in a way that's meaningful, right? At the end of the day, we're all consumers. And so why? And the real reason is ethos is something that, it's personal to your heart. It evokes emotion, right? You look at the Kiki eyes and you can't help but feel a little joy, right? If not a lot of joy. And I feel that this is important because I think, going back to, what your conversation before about building behind the scenes and now doing it transparently, this is still the Wild West. Let's be very honest, right? As founders, you have an idea of what's going to happen. You see other people's playbook, but you have to define yourself by what's true to you. And you see all of these founders having the same conversation you're having, right? Having meaningful dialogue that's transparent, that is collaborative, and more importantly, that is heavily focused on community. I love the fact that you guys are going back to the drawing board and having some of these discussions because you need to. You need to iterate. You need to be Kaizen, right? Like the Japanese philosophy of failing fast. And I think, one of the things that I hope in this space, as we've gone 3-4 years into the post NFT era, is an understanding that there needs to be a growth mindset to all of this. And I think this is some of the conversation that you're starting to have and see because, unfortunately, because it's incentivized financially, because there's a price attached to it, people only can think of now, right? Or other things that people have won. I'm backwards. I always think like a poker player, right? I always think of the bad beats because I learn most from when I fail. And I feel like there needs to be a level of maturation culturally and just emotionally that your bag should be tied to how you feel in terms of motivation, but it should be defined on how you react to those emotions, react to the things that go on. And I think it's super important to help push that narrative as you start seeing these conversations happen, because if these leaders can do it within their communities and they're deemed a success, by all metrics and measurements, then others can hopefully follow along and understand that this is a journey. Love the process. One of the things I've done when I first got into this space, I was part of a DAO, doing a lot of the things that you guys are doing at Kiki. And I feel like those are the parts where I enjoyed the most because I actually built real friendships, real relationships, connecting with people on a different level. And Kiki and hopefully for everyone here understands that. But for me, it was my community. And I just fell in love with that and gotten personally involved eventually where I became essentially the COO at the time. And I feel like, to answer your question shortly is we need to continue to build and do better. But I also think, it is the understanding with growth mindset for all parties involved, right? From top to bottom, we need to help understand that, things may seem this way, but hey, if you want transparency, let's do that. If you want more, products, retail, right? Yes, we want to see T-shirts. We want to see all these things. Make that part of it, and then get them involved. Because guess what? If they're involved, and the team is involved, then that's where you see success happen. It's all about jumping all in. And so, hopefully, I'm just as curious as you to see how this conversation goes because everybody's dropping trailers and teasers, and I just want to get to the heart of it. I want to get straight to it. So that's my take on it. Hopefully, that wasn't too long-winded, but I think there's some good bits there for everyone to kind of enjoy.
Yeah, no, I appreciate your insight. Mr. Cool, what's your thought on, IP meme coins, the IP built around NFTs, the thought of meme coins being called culture coins and earning that title, can't just be given by a founder. It has to be earned by the community responding. And, really thinking through, what is the playbook on storytelling around these digital assets?
Yeah, so I think that the playbook, and I have this conversation with a lot of people. I'm working with another project called Kabu, and they're an NFT project on Abstract. And the term like IP gets thrown around a lot, and kind of being like, what playbook are you guys using? Are you guys following this pudgy like playbook and this, that, and the other? The crazy thing, the fun and the difficult thing about NFTs and meme coins itself is there's no university you can go to be, let me study how to properly run this. Every single community, every single team, and every single project and every single IP has its own playbook. You can't really follow anything. This proves to be very difficult, but it also is one of those things where it kind of lets people carve their own path, exactly what Kiki's doing. And I think that people need to like remember that, because oftentimes people can kind of sit back behind their computer and be like, hey, you guys are doing this wrong. Like, this conversation comes up a lot because I'm a community lead person. I get DMs all the time. Like, the team, they're doing it wrong. Like, are they copying this? And I'm like, I'm not trying to say anything like wrong or anything, but you act like there is something that you can follow. There's a book, there's a website you can go to. You can't do any of that stuff. So that's what I think is cool about like what you guys are doing. You guys are kind of like dialing it back, and you're like kind of learning from what you've seen. You've watched the space, you've watched Kiki, you've seen the community, and then Todor has this playbook, and you guys are kind of reinventing it, and working it more of like how you're supposed to be doing it, and kind of feeling what Kiki's supposed to be and not what the space thinks Kiki should be, and like how like those kind of things. So that road is not so clear. It's not so straightforward. There's lots of winding turns and hills and all this kind of stuff. So people need to remember that stuff. And it's like I said, it's a really fun thing, and it makes it really interesting. And that's why I think people in the Kiki community keep coming back. And you got these houses because you guys are doing your own style. You're carving your own path. It's no other projects really doing it exactly like that. So
Right.
it's kind of a lot of what I've been thinking about it, because this conversation comes up a lot on the daily with all across, Web3.
Yeah, last week we had Sheeb's main account in the room. They have 4 million followers on that account. I was very thankful that our friend came in and showed support to our community, because there was conversations that Kokoro was having. And so it was nice to have the reminder for our community that we started this entire project based on our relationship with Sheep. And then Pulse Digital came in and had a conversation with us. So at first, when the numbers skyrocketed, we had 50 and almost 100,000 people actively. And when it was all over and done with, there's 2.7 million people that were tagged as listeners, or accounts that were tagged as listeners. At first I thought, oh, it must be Sheep. But then when I saw all of the spam comments, then I realized, well, no, this is not natural. We had a real conversation, but our space was botted. So for those in the community that might be confused, like, well, what do you mean the space was botted? Well, we did not bot it. So why would someone bot our space? Well, as you might imagine, when a community lead, Kokoro is our founder of our project, and when he chooses to publicly hold someone like Shaitoshi to account, that might bother Shai. It might bother people in the Sheep community that feel, protective over Shai as a leader. And so someone or some people decided to bot our account. Now, why would they bot our account? Well, it could flag X that we are botting our own account, and it could get our account taken down. So just a pretty clear reason for someone to bot our account is to try to have us pay a consequence. The other thing is, by botting the account, they have all these accounts that can basically all go in and say these negative comments. And so this kind of comes back to a couple things. When people on the internet say negative things and you don't know who they are, first thing you should ask yourself, is this even a real person? Is this even a real person? Not just a anonymous person. Like, is this even an anonymous person, right? Or is this just a bot and somebody's trying to do something? Because a lot of the times when Kiki's been attacked, we've been attacked by people that we have confronted because they've done something unethical. Like recently we had somebody run a contest for us, and it turned out that they basically hijacked the contest, gave themselves the first and second prize. When we confronted them and say, what you did is unethical, you need to give the money back, and you need to, acknowledge what you've done. They, instead of doing that, they decided to get a bunch of accounts and try to attack our reputation. So when you see a lot of attacks about our project or any project, one of the things you have to ask yourself is like, is this even a real anonymous person? Then the next thing you ask yourself, let's say it is a real person, whether it's anonymous or not. And let's say they do have a concern. They want to see my personal wallet. They want to know what the roadmap is. They want to know why we haven't been listed on Binance yet. Whatever their thing, their question, their concern, their anxious comment is. One thing that's challenging for leaders to do, whether it's James and myself or whether it's one of our house leaders, is if we give too much attention and time and energy into responding to all of the even legitimate concerns, it takes our eye off the prize of what we are dedicating ourselves to do to be successful. And it removes our ability to stay into a positive mindset and engage with people that are hope oriented and vision oriented and driving toward the same goal. So if you see myself and others on the team engage with positive comments and have back and forth banter with people that are seeing like, hey, we're going to get there, like we have a goal in mind, and you see us engaging with that content, and then you don't see us engaging with people that are like, when is OKX going to list us? When are we going to get on Coinbase? Is Robinhood coming? Like, if you don't see us engage with that, it's because, like, what am I going to say? I don't make the decision for Robinhood and Coinbase. Like, you want me to just make something up? I mean, so and if it's a thing that's being said as kind of a poking the bear, like trying to provoke me or Todor or Kokoro or James or somebody, like, I'm not really easily provoked. I like, I'm not really going to engage with that. So there is a balance. And so when Mr. Cool's talking about being a moderator over communities, there's a challenge of wanting to acknowledge people's concerns, wanting to acknowledge people's hopes, but there is a reason why leaders often gravitate toward those that have hope and vision and real thoughtful comments compared to those that are just taking shots. And so if you don't see us respond to things, that's the reason. And if you see weird things happen in our community, like hundreds of negative comments while our account gets botted, understand that there's more at play than meets the eye originally. James, why don't you jump in? There's a lot in the video we showed. There's a lot in what Xiao, Mr. Cool, and myself have just shared. I'd love to hear your input.
Yeah, everything you mentioned is actually makes sense. I think it's also important for the community members to also understand that, there are just some questions that there's really no answer right now, and like when we don't answer that questions, it does not mean that we are objecting to answer it, but we don't want to answer it and make mistakes. I think that's one responsibility of every founder or chief level executive should do. If there's gonna be any person that should be very, very like the most careful in terms of his words. I believe words is the most powerful thing in the world. Like even Donald Trump, when he says something, like markets are shaking. Same goes with our projects. Like whatever we say, we are very responsible of what we do. And as long as there is, like a firm like statement or subject, that's the time we actually should be publishing that statement already. But again, like for example, what Kokoro is like initiated, we are trying to step up the game wherein we kind of try to talk publicly work so that people can really see what's going on. And cool zero cool is actually very very right. It just makes sense that there's such no playbook in this game, in this space. There's no university that you can go and like take a PhD level of education and still get an assurance that you can make a project successful. We are doing the project to what's supposed to be the project is, and I believe that's essential for success. All we need, all we ask, and all I request is for the community is just to believe. We are here. We are holding. We are bringing Kiki up. It's just that honestly, there's just some uncertainties that we should be, like publish way beyond, but we are trying to, like make up for our mistakes as well as a founders. And that's why we are opening up like the books right now to all of you guys. And who knows, like 2 minds is better than 1, 3 minds is better than 2, 5 is better than 4, and so on and so forth. Our community may be the one who will make us, successful. Maybe the idea from the community is gonna be the golden key for us to go 1B or even 20B according to like Kiki Kokoro's mission. So yeah, it just makes sense, and I echo you, Ian.
PK, Raman, and Carl, if any of you'd like to unmute yourself, share some comments, ask some questions, please do so. We can hear you.
Hello, everyone. The thing that I would like to share is to the community out there that this is very, very normal. Coming from the guy that came from the 2021 bull run, it was very, very wild. Back then, we didn't have it easy. If you want something like an NFT, you have to go to the Discord, you have to participate, you have to communicate with other people to get the white listing. And it's really, really hard. We didn't have it easy. So right now we're in an age where meme coins are like on the top of the chain when it comes to crypto right now, which is really, really very easy to participate in because anything that we can do can have a massive impact on the project. So I want everyone who is listening right now, participate in any way you can. You don't need to be the brightest. You don't need to give out the most outrageous idea. You sharing Kiki, you commenting, you supporting the leaders, the team will help give Kiki the boost that it needed. So it's gonna be a bumpy ride. It won't be easy, but your participation matters. And I really, really hope that in the next upcoming months, the believers will benefit with like the labor of our hardship.
Thank you, Carl. Shay, you got your hand raised. Please jump in.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment that, right? We're talking about storytelling, we're talking about memes and community. This is the best part about it, right? Everything that's been shared by the team and Zero is so wonderful because what it is we're doing, we're part of the story. We're part of the storytelling. Your own involvement as community is a key factor in how you win. And I love the fact that everyone's having their say. And I hope more people comment in the spaces as well as other things. But yeah, there's real opportunity here to really drive value for each and every one of us because we're actually active participants, right? Usually in Web 2, you're a consumer. Your say doesn't matter. But with co-creation, with remixing, with being involved in the community, you heard it first here, right? You guys are listening. You guys are reacting. You're responding. You're doing it transparently. You're doing it for the community. And it's one of the rare things that you can involve. And again, that's what I said before, the growth mindset. We are part of the story, right? We are co-creating as part of Kiki, and we're helping drive that narrative every single day. And I encourage everyone to continue to do so, because this is why Web3 works. You might be here for the money at first, but you stay for the community, and it's people like who have spoken on stage that help show you how that's possible.
Yeah. PK, Raman, if either of you like to unmute yourself and jump in, we'd love to hear from you.
We keep on hearing things like community is everything, but when can you say that community is everything, right? For me, it is everything when community is moving, when community is participating, when community is contributing. Everyone must participate. People who can contribute must share for the betterment of the project, right? Uh, so everyone hearing this, they must participate. Those holders, instead of looking for the problem, they must share the solution if they know it. Something like that.
I appreciate
Something like,
I appreciate what you're sharing. I think that I'm a very optimistic and positive person, especially the way I speak. And I think that sometimes the reality of how it feels in leadership is a lot more like what PK just said. Like, it actually feels a lot more, it's a way easier to feel either confused, frustrated, or discouraged by the lack of community engagement, especially if the community felt more engaged last week or last month. So if last month the Army is just on fire and like every post just is getting rated out of control and everyone wants to jump in and participate, and it's like, the energy can't stop and everything's positive. And then if this week there's a lull and the market is looking good for a lot of other projects, and maybe it's not looking as good for Kiki in that moment, and now people either are disengaging or instead of being positive, they're being negative. And this leaves a leader like myself or anybody like PK, it leaves it very challenging for us to feel great about the community, because what the community once was last month, last week, doesn't feel like it is today. Did you want to say something, James?
Oh, sorry, I'm just preparing for an Instagram story.
I saw your phone up on the camera. I'm like,
Yeah, I'm like,
James has something to say.
Sorry, guys, my thing.
So I appreciate you sharing, PK. It's totally reasonable to feel what you just described, and if we only have our leaders speak like me from a positive, optimistic standpoint, ignoring the FUD and ignoring the lull, it doesn't necessarily lead to a balanced communication. So one of the things that I'm doing this next week is I will be interviewing PK, Raman, Carl, as well as Nettie, one-on-one. I'll be interviewing each of them one-on-one for an extended conversation. It will be, a half hour, give or take. And the reason why I'm doing this is so they can tell their story. When PK and Raman talk about, hey, we really need to increase recruitment in the House of Army and the House of Missionary, that's true. You know what else they need? They need the people that were once more committed to re-engage and be committed again. And so what I intend to do is to help you guys tell your stories. I'm pretty good at this. I've interviewed over 1,000 people in this industry over the course of the last 7 or 8 years. And I want you to be able to tell your story so people can attach themselves to you emotionally. And so it makes things like recruitment or re-engagement a lot easier. I want to share a story with you guys. It's from a recent. If anybody has something that is burning, raise your hand, and I'll let you speak. Otherwise, I'm going to tell this story. Okay, so there there's a lot of religions in the world that look to what people see as like these old stories from 3,000 and 4,000 years ago, right? So all Jews, all Catholics and Christians, all people in Islam, they all look to Abraham as the father of these faiths. So that's a pretty unique thing, in that everybody kind of looks to this one wanderer, this one homeless man that left his family and started something new. And many look to this young boy named David. So my friends funded a new TV show on Amazon Prime recently called The House of David. Now, The House of David, basically, it's an eight series or 8-part show on the first season. And the first 7 shows, if you haven't seen it, it basically shows the first king of Israel, which is a guy named Saul. And it shows the prophet that basically said this man is now the king. And it shows Saul's deterioration. And then it shows this bastard child, this boy that was sent to the field to be a shepherd because his father was ashamed of him because of how he was born. His brothers were ashamed of him, and he was just this kind of outcast. Yet in the fields, David, if you've studied anything about this man, the second king of Israel, who was said to be the greatest man, born during that time, and certainly a wise man, certainly a wealthy man, certainly a ladies' man. David had like 500 wives and 500 concubines. Homeboy was active, and so David's a unique dude. But if you study the Psalms, which are all of his songs that he wrote, and if you study his life, which was accounted in 1st and 2nd Samuel, also in Kings and Chronicles, David was clearly a manic depressive, bipolar person with a very challenging mental health issues. Okay, so there's no way around that. There's no human that would ever make the decisions David made if that wasn't the case. So in the fields, he killed a lion because the lion was coming after a sheep. He killed a bear because the bear was coming after a sheep. What type of young teenager kills a lion and a bear? That's a crazy man. That's a person that believes they're a superhero. And this is this little boy, this little shepherd boy, thinks he's a superhero. And it doesn't matter that his dad is ashamed of him. It doesn't matter his brothers are ashamed of him. He, in and of himself, has that thing in him that says, I know who I am, I know what I'm made for, and I know that with my faith, I'm unstoppable. Fast forward to episode 8, the last episode of the season, which I've watched the last half of episode 8, I think 4 times now, because it's such a powerful moment in cinematic creation. The princess comes up to him and says, aren't you terrified? Because he basically told the king, I will go face Goliath, because Goliath had been mocking the Israelites for 40 days. And Goliath is this 12-foot tall giant. And all the Israelites, the king and all of his warriors, they're all scared. None of them are going to go out and get, torn apart by this giant. So David goes before the king and says, I will face this giant. And David's brothers are like, stop it. But the king stands up and basically goes, I have not felt this much confidence in so long. Like, your confidence, little shepherd boy, makes me confident. If this is what you want to do, go. And so the princess goes up to David and says, aren't you terrified? Like how can you want to face Goliath? Aren't you terrified? And David says, yeah, of course I'm terrified. And then David goes to the stream to get some stones, because his only weapon is not a sword. It's not his fists. He knows how to use a sling and to sling a rock. And that's his weapon. So he's getting stones, and the prince comes up to him, the king's son. And they exchange some words. And the prince says, "Why did my dad choose you as the champion?" And David looks at him and goes, "Why didn't you go fight him, dude? You're the prince. You're the warrior. Why didn't you do it? You know why your dad chose me? Because I'm the only person that raised his hand and said, I will do it." The prince then says, "Okay, man, you're courageous. Your only moment is when he throws the spear at you. That's your moment. You got a second. You got 1 second. When the spear is thrown, that's when Goliath's weak. That's when he's vulnerable. He can't use his shield when he throws a spear." Finally, David's oldest brother is one of the leaders in the king's army. And as David's walking out to the battlefield, and everyone, all the Israelites are saying, "No, don't let that little boy go out there and fight for us." His brother grabs him by the shoulder and he looks at him and he goes, "Why aren't you afraid?" And David looks at his brother and says, "I am." And he turns around and he goes into the field. Goliath and David exchange words. This is all recounted in what the Jews and Christians would call the sacred scriptures. Whether you think it's real or not is insignificant to me, but it's, if nothing else, a fascinating and emotional story. And David runs after they exchange some words toward Goliath in this show. Goliath throws a spear, David evades it. Goliath throws another spear. And in the show, it hits David in the side, skims his side, and pins his clothes to the ground. And everybody thinks David's dead. Friends, this is where KIKI's at right now. This is where KIKI's at right now. You understand that we're a multi-billion-dollar IP universe with or without a meme coin. Do you understand that I and Todor, Kokoro, James, and the rest of our team, we will not quit until the giant is slayed. And the giant for us is scaling and sustaining a multi-billion-dollar market cap against our meme coin or IP coin or culture coin, whatever you want to call it. I don't really care. And just because the market's moving up and KIKI seems stagnant, that's like David on the ground with blood on his side, with the spear in the ground, with Goliath laughing, with the Israelites thinking that the champion the king just sent out to fight him is dead. That might be the moment that we're at. And this is what makes being a part of this community today so powerful, because we are at a point, the most powerful point of the hero's journey, the point where everybody counts us out. And so if PK, Raman, Carl, Nettie, and your houses feel discouraged, if people in this community are feeling discouraged, if you're feeling like, man, is there life in these bones? What I must say to you is, just because the champion is on the ground and bloody and everybody thinks he's dead, doesn't mean that's the end of the story. What happens next in the show, which is why I watched it so many times, with tears rolling down my eyes each time, because it's so powerful to see someone overcome a challenge of this nature. David stands up, Goliath is shocked. He grabs another spear. He hucks it at David. David evades it. With his sling, he lets the stone go and buries the stone in the forehead of Goliath. It kills Goliath instantly. Goliath falls down head first. David grabs Goliath's sword, pulls it out. With all of his might, he lifts it over his head and he chops off Goliath's head. This story has been shared to billions and billions and billions and billions of our ancestors. Friends, find stories that move your soul. You don't have to look at Luca and Pudgy Penguins. You don't have to look at Ryoshi and Shiba Inu. You don't have to just look within your little insulated world of crypto. Go find athletic achievements. Go find war achievements. Go find health achievements. Go find something that motivates you and allows you to feel like you can relate to that and stay the course. And with that, I think we will end our time. Shao, Mr. Cool, all of our house leaders, PK, Raman, Carl, all of the friends in the community that are here with us, James, thank you so much for being here with us. We'll be back again next week with another Kiki Corner. I hope that what I just shared with you was an encouragement. Until next time, everyone. Peace.
Peace. Let's go.